Come with me as I make egusi soup and pounded yam. Egusi soup is a West African dish that originated from Nigeria, and it primarily is made up of melon seeds. So first, I start by cutting up my seasoning. For this dish, I'm going to add onions, peppers, and so much more. Next, I warm up my pot, heat the pot with oil, turn it to low to medium heat, and then I'll add my onions. And then after I add my onions, I'll add my protein, which in this case, I decided to use goat's meat. But you can use any protein that you like, whether it's beef or chicken. In some cases, some people even use fish. So once you cook your onions for about 5 to 10 minutes to low to medium heat, that is when you'll want to add your protein, which again, I decided to use goat meat. So once you go ahead and add your protein in your pot, you want to add some salt. You want to add some seasoning, and if you want, you could add more onions too. So I added my goat meat. Now with my goat meat, I seasoned it the night before. Added black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, salt. I also added a little bit of curry, just a little bit. So I let that sit overnight in my refrigerator until it was time for me to cook the egusi soup. And I went ahead and added it to my pot. Now again, everything is really to taste. So if you need to add a little bit of salt, you can. If you don't need any more salt, that's fine too. But you want to cook the meat and the onions and everything on a low heat for 15 minutes. No water at first. And then once that's done, you can go ahead and add some water and cook your goat meat or your protein with the onions for another 10 minutes. You want to make sure and check that the meat is soft and tender, that it's not too tough. After that, you'll save the meat broth. Now this part is very important. You want to save the meat broth. Do not throw it away. And then you also want to set the meat aside. So add the meat in one bowl and then add the broth in another bowl and just set that aside. All right, so next you want to prepare your stockfish. You want to wash your stockfish very well. So what I did was I washed my stockfish in water. Then afterwards, I boiled it with fresh water with a little bit of salt for about 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes are up, you want to throw away that water. It removes any strong smell, and then you set that aside. Next, you want to add your locust beans, or in the African culture, they call it uru. Then you add your crayfish powder, add that to the mix to your pot, and let it boil for a little bit. At this point, you're starting to create your base, which is like the flavor stage, and add 2 spoons of palm oil in the pot along with any more onions, your uru, your crayfish, and you want to stir on low heat. And just, you'll see the flavor, you'll smell it. It'll smell so good, but you want to stir that on low heat. Then once you stir that for about 10 minutes. And of course, if you need to add more palm oil, you can. So for me, kind of throughout this whole process, I was adding palm oil. And, you know, I have a heavy hand when I cook. So the more palm oil, the better, at least for me. But use your discretion. Now, once you're done cooking your base, you want to add your egusi. And I think it's better when you get the ground egusi. Then you can also add your peppers, which I didn't want to blend mine. You could have blended it in the blender, but I just used a mortar and I just kind of like pounded up a little bit. But if you want it to be more fine, then use a blender or a grater of some sort. So I added that into the mixture, added a little bit more salt, and then I just stirred it some more. And then this is where we add our ground egusi. Now you might want to check your local African store or Caribbean store. If you don't live near an African store or Caribbean store, then you could always go online and purchase it. And like places like Amazon or online African e-commerce websites. Then I decided to grate some red bell peppers and I added that to the mix just to give it some flavor. It wasn't too hot, like it wasn't too spicy. I also added some Scotch bonnet peppers and some chili peppers, but it's really up to you to determine how hot you want it. After I did that, I added the stockfish, I added the broth, and I was on go mode. I also added my spinach. And yeah, making pounded yam is not for the weak, even if you use the pounded yam powder. And I cooked that for a little bit and it came out so great and it tasted so good. So make sure you guys try this recipe out.